Let's talk SEC quarterback. So I've seen a lot of
Oh,
SEC quarterback rankings coming out, and I've seen, a lot of talk about Gunnar Stockton. Oh, also Jackson Johnson watching the show. What's up, Bulldog
oh,
Nation? Jackson, appreciate you
what's up,
chiming in,
Jackson?
man. Go Dogs. But talking about the SEC quarterback rankings. So I should have made a graphic or something we could put on the list here for our listeners, but we don't have it. So going off, there's a few different lists out there, but basically I haven't seen Gunnar Stockton higher than like 10 on like any list I see. It's somewhere
Yeah,
he's in
I
like that
mean,
10 to 12 range. And so this list right here is on 24/7. Brad Crawford from 24/7 came up with this one.
it's a good writer.
And they have Gunnar at 12 in the SEC. Only Bo Pribula, Joey Aguilar, Blake Shapen, and Zach Calzada are lower than Gunnar Stockton. And might as well go down the whole list. Marcel Reed at 11, Ty Simpson at 10, Jackson Arnold 9, Taylon Green 8, Austin Simmons 7, Diego Pavia 6, John Mateer 5, Lagway 4th, Sellers 3, Arch Manning 2, and then Garrett Nussmeier number 1. I don't hate on most of this list.
Yeah.
Like I've seen Arch at number 1. Like that's where I was ready to like just be kind of outraged. Just the amount of hype Arch is getting. Like I saw a list of those mock drafts they'll do of like if anyone was eligible this past NFL draft, like underclassmen and everything. Some lists had Arch going 1 and Lagway going 2. Did you see that list?
I think I saw the same thing. Yeah, where it's like if anyone could declare, Arch would go number 1, and he's like started one game.
Yeah, and it's just like I'm not here to. I don't think who is ahead of you means like what you're capable of.
Yeah. No.
Like the fact that like the Jake Fromm Justin Fields thing is always going to be like a conversation in Georgia circles. The fact that he was a 5th rounder doesn't just automatically mean Georgia made the wrong decision because Justin Fields turned out to be a 1st rounder. Like, granted, I think if Fields stays, he probably eventually beats out Fromm. I'm not sure. We're not going to get into that whole conversation right now. But the fact that, and I think Quinn Ewers is underrated. I'll start this conversation by saying I think Quinn Ewers is underrated.
What?
This dude was a 7th round pick.
Yes,
like people talk about him like he's trash. You think Quinn Ewers
is trash?
Quinn Ewers is trash?
I went full Stephen Smith there, and I fully apologize.
Hey, say it with your chest, man. I'm here for it.
Let me collect myself for a moment. I'm so glad that I've been afforded this opportunity to do my Quinn Ewers rant, which I will keep to a minimum. Dude, Quinn Ewers, it held Texas back so much last year. Like, he holds on the ball so long. He's short. He doesn't have size. He doesn't have a very strong arm. He doesn't stay healthy. I just feel like people got really hung up on his performance against Alabama in his first, second, third game as Texas starter. And they looked at that version of him and they said, that's the guy. That's Quinn Ewers. He never played like that ever again. He doesn't.
Well,
he never.
Hold on now.
He never had the physical tools. He would hold the ball too long. He made poor decisions. You saw when Georgia played them in the SEC championship, the amount of just easy throws that he missed and the amount of gifts that Georgia's defense got in that game. I just don't think he's a very good player. I mean, the number one thing that I remember, the thing that stands out to me the most about doing my media availability in the Texas game, and I know I sound so – I feel bad about just yelling Quinn Ewers is trash because he's not trash.
Hey, say what you feel, man. You speak your truth.
He's way better at football than I will ever be at just about anything.
Of course.
But the thing that I remember about that Texas game was somebody asked Kirby Smart a question about, like, y'all had 7 sacks. Like, how are y'all able to do that? It was something to that effect. And the question was very loaded with, like, how were you able to do this? How was your team able to make these plays happen? And Kirby Smart basically he's like, well, the biggest and this is this
SEC championship?
This is game? October. This is the regular season. Yeah, sorry, I should have cleared that up. And Kirby's response was basically like he just held the ball too long. Like his main thing was like a big reason was because he held the ball forever. And like if you go back and you watch that game, it's like, yeah. So I really think all of this to say, because I want there to be some kind of purpose for me just ragging on Quinn Ewers. that's kind of why I'm buying into the Arch hype. Because I think a guy who clearly, like, we on the field have seen Arch Manning's physical tools are off the charts, and they're much better than Ewers in terms of his arm strength, his capabilities as a runner, and just his instincts in the pocket also. Like, plus he has the Manning pedigree, plus he's been in Sarkisian system for 3 years. Like, again, I know this is all projections, and this is all if this happens, if this works out. But, like, dude, Arch, I'm not ready to put him at number 1 in the SEC either, and I'm not ready to say he'd be the number 1 pick. But, like, the Arch propaganda is working on me.
Well, let's put it this way. Well, first of all, he's not Eli or Peyton's seed. All right, so he's the other brothers.
Yeah, that's why. But that's where the mobility comes from. Because
is that what it is?
His daddy played wide receiver, and also remember his dad was really good, and he was committed to Ole Miss. But he had to stop playing football because he had a really rare spinal condition. But Cooper Manning was a really good athlete as well. It wasn't like he was just a bum and play ball.
So I accept everything you said there. I will say, in terms of your timeline, that first year was the year where he played well versus Alabama, but he got hurt, and then they almost beat Alabama anyway. His second year starting was when he dealt against them in Tuscaloosa. They won by multiple scores.
Okay.
He also balled out on Michigan at Michigan.
So he was balling against them both years. My mistake.
Yeah, the first year it was like he got hurt first quarter or something.
I will maintain that he never looked better ever than he did against Alabama.
Yeah, I think that's the in Tuscaloosa, that game.
Both games.
Yeah. I think he balled out on Michigan last year, that early game in the Big House.
Michigan turned out to be garbage.
They were a good defense though, right? Like they had defensive
they won
players.
6 games.
No, that's fair. I'm not
Yes,
I'm not building a statue for you.
They had Mason Grant and Will Johnson. Absolutely, they did.
For sure. And he threw 31 touchdowns last year, did throw 12 picks. But I think, for one, it sucks how these guys get kind of judged based on their high school ranking. I think Quinn Ewers is without a doubt a victim of this. Like, he was the highest ranked recruit ever, like literally ever.
That's nuts.
And he was not the greatest recruit by any means, but I think he's better than a 7th round pick.
He also has a lot of injuries that have really piled up, which I think have no doubt contributed to that. I think he would have definitely gone higher than the 7th round if he was healthy this year. He probably would have gone in the 4th or 5th, but I think there's just a lot of things that kind of add up to why he went that low. And also to why, like, man, Arch can really be able there's so much room for improvement for Texas's quarterback play next year. I'm telling you.
But for everything we've talked about, don't you think Steve Sarkisian is like one of the best offensive minds in all of college football?
Yes, absolutely, I do.
And everything you're saying about Quinn Ewers, that how terrible he is, Arch Manning wasn't able to beat that guy out. Is that not alarming at all?
No, I don't think it is, because I think Quinn Ewers just had an insane amount of experience last year. Like, I remember even entering last season, I remember a lot of the conversation, and I'm sure if you're a Texas fan, you could just sit here and be like, no, that wasn't true at all. But what I remember hearing was like, yeah, out of camp, I think people already know Arch has some insane physical talent, and he's probably raw. He's probably a better raw athlete than Ewers. But because it's 2024 and we have this super team, we have this insanely stacked roster, we have to go with the most experienced guy and the guy who, we can really trust to be in those, late game situations. And that was Ewers, like, not because they viewed Ewers as some, I think, insane alpha dog who could carry them, but he was a good college quarterback. And I just don't think Arch was really ready last year, the same way Arch was for a team that was like trying to make a natty run.
Yeah, I don't think he's in his second year as a college football player. So the fact that he was in his second year and he still wasn't ready to take that job, I don't know. And we saw a start versus Mississippi
Ewers
State.
Was in his fifth year.
I don't think he was that long, but no, he was for sure.
He was. Ewers was in college for a long time.
I think he was a 3-year, like a 3-year, and that 4th year was at Ohio State, right? Like the first year was at Ohio State, and he was a 3-year starter at Texas. I think that's what. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he was.
Okay, yeah. He's actually younger than I am, so. Okay, yeah, he was 4 years, but like, I don't know.
But like when they put him in the game against Georgia, like I think most Georgia fans just with the backup quarterback thing, we started to get worried. But like he looked significantly worse, I would say, in his like 2 or 3 series versus Georgia. And like it says something that Sarkisian was willing to bench Ewers at that point, and maybe he was just kind of giving him a break because Ewers played significantly better in the second half of that game. Maybe just Georgia was in his head or something.
I think it's splitting hairs because they were both awful in that game.
That's fair. Georgia even showed up in Austin, Texas that week for sure. But like I don't like Nussmeier feels like the classic kind of quarterback that gets drafted top 10 that there's a lot of people who think he's not even good. You know what I mean? That he's got all the tools.
Nussmeier
what are your thoughts on Nussmeier?
My thoughts on Nussmeier are that he is the most entertaining guy I've ever one of the most entertaining quarterbacks I've ever seen, because I don't know if there's a quarterback with just more stones on him in the SEC than that guy, because he will try anything. Like you watch, every time I watch Garrett Nussmeier, I'm just either like, oh my God, yes, that's sick. Or I'm just like, dude, what are you doing? Like, what was that? And I don't know. I mean, he's definitely got a wild streak when he plays, but like, do you remember when he came in for Jaden Daniels in the SEC championship against Georgia? Some of the throws he made?
Oh yeah, he put up some numbers once he came in the game that second half.
He's really good, man. And I mean, he's definitely a bit of a wild child in the pocket with some of the decisions he makes, either bailing too early or just biting off more than he can chew and throwing it in a double coverage or whatever. But I also feel like he can do things that no other quarterback in the SEC really can. I really like Garrett Nussmeier. I just think he's just the classic gunslinger, and I love players like that.
Yeah, I think he's got some of that, like some of those intangibles you want from your quarterback too, like that team respects. Like every game is over. He looks like he's played 2 or 3 games at the end of every game. Like he's beaten up.
He's the son of a coach. He's grown up in this. This has been his life since he was a child.
For sure. But then go down the list, like I think Lenore Sellers, like I think he's kind of going to be the guy that's like the college. I think Lenore Sellers is the playmaker. I honestly think Lenore Sellers' floor is higher than the rest of this top 5.
Wait,
to be
what's
honest.
his lore?
His floor, like his
floor. I thought you were talking about his floor. I agree. I think
because I think you know what you're getting, and these guys are dynamic athletes. Like at the college level, like they make plays. I think Lenore Sellers. Not guaranteeing South Carolina's good, like as good as they were last year. This year, like who knows? They have like one of the widest range of outcomes. Like they could win 6 games, they could win 10 games. Like I really have no idea. But I put Lenore. I like Lenore Sellers up there.
Oh, I really like Lenore Sellers. Before to prepare, I made like just a little like tier list, I thought, of SEC quarterbacks, and like the floor that I had in like just top breakout guys. The 3 that I felt good about were DJ Lagway, Lenore Sellers, and Garrett Nussmeier. And then I also put Arch Manning in there, but it's all based on projection. Yeah. But I agree. I think I agree with you in that. I think Lenore Sellers' rushing ability gives him the highest floor of any quarterback in the SEC, because it's like he is just a crazy athlete. I think if any quarterback in the SEC is going to win the Heisman next year, it's him.
Oh wow, that's bold.
I think that.
I don't know if South Carolina wins enough games for him to win a Heisman, though, is the only thing. He'll have to put up some huge numbers. But you said Lagway. Like, you have Lagway in that first tier. To me, DJ Lagway feels like this year's Nico Iamaleava. Like, I feel like we're forcing this. Like, but dude, Lagway was good last year. Lagway threw 12 touchdowns and 9 picks last year. Are you aware of that? Like, I'm sorry, I'm not putting this guy in the Heisman conversation.
I know,
go ahead.
But I don't want to be a box score watcher with Lagway, because I mean he's got crazy athletic ability. He's got a cannon. I mean, he just looks the part, man. Like this is coming from somebody. I mean, you and I. It's really hard for me to say good things about Florida players. So when I do, like, I really mean it. And DJ Lagway is really good, man. And I was having a fun time watching him against Georgia's defense last year, and it kind of bummed me out when he got injured. It's going to be fun to watch him in that game, man. I think dude, behind Arch Manning, he might have the second highest ceiling of anybody in the SEC.
See, I think ceiling, there's definitely a conversation to be had that he has got the highest ceiling in the SEC, but it's like, it just, and I will say, I go to this a lot. Matthew Stafford threw 7 touchdowns and 13 picks as a freshman, but you could see some of the skill. So obviously you can take a huge step from what you are as a true freshman. But Lagway, I feel like we're doing the same thing we did to Nico Iamaleava last year. Like, who is it? I think Tom Fornelli was like, Nico's the best quarterback in college football. Like, he said that like with his whole chest, like to start last year. And he was even like, Caleb Williams, I said, was the best quarterback in the country before he was starting a game at Oklahoma. It's like, okay, well if you said that also, you were wrong.
Caleb Williams was the best quarterback in the country.
Not when he was playing at Oklahoma. As a true freshman, he was the best quarterback in the country. No, I mean, he had the upside. He was really good. We have to not confuse upside for how good a guy currently is. Like, if you thought Caleb Williams was the best quarterback in college football,
did he not wind up being exactly right about Caleb Williams? Caleb Williams he won the Heisman.
No, but his point was in 2020 at Oklahoma, Caleb Williams was the best quarterback in college football.
What did he say about Lagway?
He wouldn't say Lagway. He said about Nico last year. He said Nico was the best quarterback in college football.
Well, Lagway, and also let's not act like obviously Nico was not the best quarterback in college football last year, but we shouldn't act like he wasn't good. He was good. Mostly.
I disagree. I think Nico was a below average SEC quarterback last year. I think he was bottom 8 of the conference. And like, you go look at Nico's numbers, like the actual games they played against good competition.
I've seen his advanced numbers too, but
I think he threw like in SEC play. I think Nico was like 8 touchdowns and like 8 picks or something. It was like very mediocre. All his numbers were against weak competition.
Okay, but back to Lagway though, man.
But we'll go to Lagway.
I really don't think this is that, man. I really think if you want to look like his touchdown and interception ratio is not great, but I don't care. I mean, there's so much like Justin Herbert in him. Like, just like the upper body strength and the arm and the way
he slings it, I can see that.
Like, he can just force it in there, man. And like, I mean, he's the most talented. I never got to see Tim Tebow really. I was in diapers when Tim Tebow was doing his thing, so this is like the most.
Oh man, make me feel old.
I was gonna say most physically gifted quarterback I've ever seen from Florida, but then I remembered Anthony Richardson exists, so it's definitely not that. But yeah, Florida, Georgia might not be such a bad game next year if Lagway can stay in it, because I really think that guy is really good.
Don't get me started on another tangent with Anthony Richardson, a guy who went 4th overall who wasn't even a good college player. Like, we don't even have to get into that.
We better not start talking about Anthony Richardson.
But you just look at the games on the stretch. Like LSU, big win for them down the stretch. Lagway was 13 of 16 for 226 yards. The Ole Miss was by far their biggest win of the season. 10 of 17.
You just said that like
for 180 yards.
You just said that like that was some bad stat line. 13 of 20, 13 of 16?
13 of 26.
Oh, 26.
Yeah, 13 of 26, like 50% throwing for 200 yards, like a touchdown and no picks. Like, yeah, that's fine.
Dude, he had some big throws in that game though.
I don't know which game it was, but that one game where he's getting hit and threw like a sidearm, like I feel like the defensive lineman had his arms wrapped around him and he went through like a sidearm, like 20, 30-yard throw to the sideline, just dropped a dime. It was one of the most impressive throws I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Like Lagway's got the talent. It just feels like we've talked about the was it the 2023 class? Whichever one Jackson Arnold was in. Is that the Nico and Jackson Arnold class? There's like 5 or 6 5-stars
in the SEC now.
Yeah, there's like 5 or 6 5-stars in that class, and none of them are good. So it's like we've seen plenty of years that the 5-star quarterbacks don't pan out, but it's like everyone convinces themselves every year, like, oh, this dude was a 5-star. He's gonna be the guy this year. And I think 2025 Lagway is 2024 Nico, in my opinion.
Time will tell, man. I guess time will tell.
But let's stick to let's
about
bring it
Gunnar
all
Stockton.
back because we're going on everybody. That and then John Mateer, I think, is that one everyone's kind of sleeping on. It wouldn't surprise me
John
if he was the
Sear
best
could be
quarterback
crazy.
in the whole conference, right? And he's proven it probably more than
Yeah.
almost everyone on this list, at least against what the
I
competition
mean, and
Washington State
yeah.
played last year.
What was Washington State in the Pac-12? I
It
think
was
they
the
were.
Pac-2. It was the Pac-2 last year, but yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. He might be crazy, man. I don't really know that much about Oklahoma's like who they have as their pass catchers or anything, but I mean, I know John Mateer has been getting a lot of hype for quite some time, and he filled it up at Wazoo. So you never know, man. I mean, he what did he run Jackson Arnold out of Oklahoma, or did Jackson Arnold transfer first?
I don't know. I don't know
I would
the
imagine Arnold transferred first, but still. And
probably.
also, and I don't know. I mean, Jackson Arnold has been getting a lot of hype as well, man. At least from my friends that are Auburn fans, I keep hearing about how he's the truth, which is also what I heard from Oklahoma fans like 3 years ago. But still,
5-star quarterback, man. People don't ever forget. They
it's
don't
just
ever give up on him.
it's weird. Like in my tier, I made this like little tier list here, and like I already told you like the top tier that I had, but then it's like I have like proven starters who could make a huge leap up, and that's like Marcel Reed, Taylor Green, and Diego Pavia. And then it's like there's so many guys that are just like transfers who are like, you could be good, but we have no idea because we have no idea like if the Pac-2 can at all translate to whatever this new iteration of the SEC is, you know.
Yeah.
But
I
it's
think
like
that's fair. I like putting those three together, Taylor Green, Marcel Reed, and Diego Pavia.
yeah,
Those seem like all solid players that have a ceiling, that's just they're probably not
yeah,
going to be elite or anything, but they're dynamic playmakers.
yeah,
I kind of respect, I can like understand guys like that just being a little more proven than a Gunner being ahead of him. But
yeah,
Ty Simpson, like to have a
yeah.
guy like Ty
See,
Simpson ahead of Gunner doesn't make any sense to me.
and
Like he could be
yeah,
better than Gunner this year, but certain guys on this list, I don't know. I guess do you have a tier of just everyone
yeah.
who is clearly better than Gunner? Like how many
Well,
guys did you say
no.
are obviously better than Gunner?
Here's the tier the tier that I have the tier. Okay, so the tier I have of two guys that are new starters, but I think are better than Gunner right now. I have John Mateer and Jackson Arnold, just because those guys have done more. They're more proven guys. There's just more of a body of work there that I feel like whatever you think about whatever you think about John Mateer, Jackson Arnold, or Gunnar Stockton, whatever your opinion is of those first two guys, you feel way more firm in it than you do in your opinion of Gunnar Stockton, if that makes sense. So I feel
Yeah,
like
I
those
think
guys,
I almost put Jackson Arnold and Gunner on the same tier in terms of how
you
proven
could,
they are. Like
you could,
he had a whole season, but he got benched how many times last year? Like at
but
least a couple.
I just mean, but like pure quantity. And I know Gunnar played a playoff game and started it, but I think there's more there with. But you might be right. Maybe there isn't enough from Jackson Arnold to put him over there immediately. But so the tier that I had Gunnar in, I just titled it in my notes app, could be good, but need to see more. And the other guys I have on that list, in addition to Gunnar Stockton, are Bo Prabula of Missouri, Ty Simpson at Alabama, and then Austin Simmons at Ole Miss.
I think of the guys who have never started, I think Austin Simmons, I think is clearly my number one.
Oh, yeah.
Like maybe I'm just shell shocked from that one drive he had against Georgia.
Bro,
But
no, because he came in and he was wearing number 13 and he was left-handed and I had never seen him before. So immediately I was like, oh my God, they have a fucking Tua Cologne at quarterback. Like, oh my God.
man. But yeah, like so it's like there's this weird thing about Tennessee and Heupel that it's like, well, Nico was fine, was whatever, but like you can just plug anyone in Heupel's system, they're gonna ball out. It's like, well, Nico didn't ball out last year. Joe Milton didn't ball out the year before. So like 2 of the 4 years, Tennessee has gotten below average quarterback play in the SEC.
Yeah.
I'm not ready to just give Aguilar that benefit of the doubt. Whereas Austin Simmons, like I kind of am ready to just give the Ole Miss quarterback that benefit of the doubt. Like I was never a Matt Corral fan, but Lane Kiffin got everything you could possibly get out of Matt Corral. I think there's a lot of juice and stats for inferior teams in Matt Corral's career. We don't get off on that tangent, but if I'm looking at this right now, like when you kind of had your tiers, I kind of feel like Nussmeier, Stellers, and Mateer is like the tier of like actual proven quarterbacks, and everyone after that is like kind of upside.
I just think it's different when you prove yourself in the SEC versus when you prove I know this is just conference elitism is all it is, but I think I think Mateer hasn't had the same level of proving himself just because he hasn't done it in this conference yet. So I can't put him in that tier yet.
What do you have, like 800 yards rushing or something last year?
Yeah,
too?
Which again, I'm not to say I don't think John Mateer will be good, because I sure as heck do, but I just right now at my June 3rd rankings. And then but yeah, the three that I had in just like the not great category are Zach Calzada, even though he beat Alabama that one time. Joey Aguilar, not
Sugar
because
Hill,
I don't
Georgia also.
Yeah, he did. Not because I don't think Joey Aguilar is like bad or anything, but I just like you can't he transferred to Tennessee in what, like mid-April?
Yeah, it was. I mean, after Nico, that whole situation happened.
The timing of that just seems kind of impossible to be able to really fully integrate yourself into the scheme and everything. So it just feels like Tennessee is going to have kind of a lost year this year. And then finally, I have Blake Shapen from Mississippi State, who actually was playing pretty well before he got hurt last year, but it's a Mississippi State quarterback that's not named Rain Dakota Prescott. So I really just I'm not inspired, really.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair. I think the bottom of the conference is I think that's pretty established. It's like Gunnar. I wouldn't put him ahead of any of those three, like I said, are like the most proven. And obviously, I'm probably not putting him ahead of Arch or Lagway either. But like, he legit could be like the 4th, 5th best quarterback in the SEC, or he could be the 12th best quarterback in the SEC. And I feel like I really don't know. And I kind of wonder, like, how good does like, where does Gunnar have to be on this list postseason for Georgia to win the SEC and win the national championship? Does he have to be top 5?
No, I don't think he does. I think he just has to be consistent. I think he just has to not be as erratic as Carson Beck was for long stretches of the season last year. Like, obviously, like if you're playing in a Mike Bobo scheme, like you're going to be asked to do things and you're going to be asked to, step up and really make plays when it counts. But like, you're not going to, Georgia's never been a scheme where they really ask the quarterback to carry the team or anything. So I don't think Gunnar Stockton has to be the best quarterback in the SEC or anything for Georgia to win it, but he just has to be more reliable on a week-to-week basis than Carson Beck was, and I think that would be a good start for Georgia. You just have to you have to know what to expect to some degree every week. You have to know to expect something good every week. Carson Beck, it's like, God, this guy's either going to throw 3 touchdowns or 3 picks,
or both. I think you made the game with both. My biggest thing about Gunnar, honestly, how likely do you think it is that Gunnar is more consistent than Carson Beck was? Because like Carson Beck, he threw a lot of interceptions, but like he threw what, like 9 interceptions in like a 3-week period. After like week 5 or 6, there weren't nearly as many turnovers.
I think the 2 reasons that you can believe that he'll be more consistent than Carson Beck are, one, hopefully just because Georgia upgraded its wide receiver core a substantial bit. Hopefully Zachariah Branch and Noah Thomas end up being, plus additions to this team. Maybe even some of the freshmen become contributors. Maybe London Humphreys or somebody has a breakout, or CJ Wiley or somebody. So you have that. Hopefully you just have more reliable receivers, which more reliable receivers always equals more reliable quarterback usually, right? And then also I think this is kind of more wishy-washy. But I was really taken aback by the way that Gunnar's teammates talked about him this spring. I forget who it was who said this. I think it was Noah Thomas who said it, actually. It was either Noah Thomas. It was one of the wide receivers. It might have been someone who's been there for longer, like a Jacoby White or somebody, but I want to say it was Noah Thomas, who was like, he said verbatim, Gunnar is one of the best people I've ever met. Which I just remember hearing that and being like, wow, like you're going to say that about one of your football teammates, someone who's like, not a family member, not your best friend or anything. And like someone who you kind of just met, assuming that was Noah Thomas who said it. And I just remember like
family members texting him like, what the fuck, man? You just met this guy.
No, but like I just remember people weren't saying that about a guy like Beck. And I don't mean to like dogpile on Beck, but I do think there's something to be said for that team element of like, if your teammates are really, 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 really willing to go to war for you and they love you that much, like I think that kind of has an effect on the whole team. And maybe this is some, remember the Titans mumbo jumbo that I'm spitting, but I really think there's a different dynamic in the locker room this year than there was last year with Carson Beck in there. I just don't think Beck was as revered by the rest of the locker room as maybe Stockton is, but also I wasn't there, so I don't know. But that's
I think all of that is fair, but it feels like kind of as a fan base, we're going too far the other way, in my opinion, because like Carson Beck, like as disappointing as he was last year, like dude still threw 28 touchdowns and 12 picks, completed 65% of his passes, completed 65% of his passes with his team leading the country in drops. Like that guy probably completes 70% of his passes. Cause I mean, who knows what it does to the drive where it ended on a 3rd and 5 because the guy dropped a first down. Yeah. I feel like the vibes are so different. Everyone's convincing themselves that all the other things are going to be better, but it's like, it doesn't mean he's a better football player, even if the team likes him better. I think he probably, like you say, he doesn't have to be top 5 quarterback in the SEC for Georgia to still win the conference and win the national championship potentially, because I think the receivers have to be so much better and the running game has to be a lot better. My biggest concern with Gunnar Stockton is outside of the Ole Miss game. That's probably the other game that was equally as disappointing offensively. But next to the Ole Miss game, the Notre Dame game was the worst offensive performance of the entire season. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like maybe that's not all on Gunnar, but the fact that Gunnar, it was 10 for like -23 against Notre Dame on the ground. Yeah. I think he's sacked 4 times. So I don't know what the actual sack numbers were and what his actual rushing attempts were. But I was banking on Gunnar Stockton coming in, and now the running element is a part of Georgia's offense from the quarterback position again. So the fact that we didn't see basically any of that against Notre Dame, that's kind of what worries me the most, because I don't really know what to expect from Gunnar. Like if I knew we were getting, I don't know, Connor Shaw, like that's not a great example, just a first kind of mediocre quarterback off the run. They got run first kind of quarterback. I think if we knew we were getting Connor Shaw out of Gunnar Stockton, I'd be like, I think we can kind of build something around that. I don't know that we're actually getting that kind of runner. So, he did have, he had close to, and I think I've seen the stat that he had more yards or like better completion and better, more yards against Notre Dame than Will Howard or what's his name for Penn State, or than Drew Allard had. So, maybe that's it. Maybe Notre Dame is facing the best pass defense in the country in his first start in his career. And, it's a tough situation. But I don't know. If I would have seen more from Gunnar's legs, I would feel more confident that, like, I know what this offense is going to be. But without seeing that running element, I really don't know where Gunnar's going to rank on this list.
Yeah, that's definitely true. Because that was, I think, a big thing people were talking about going into the game. Is like, Gunnar Stockton has the running element that Carson Beck doesn't have, and we didn't really see that. But maybe some of that was, just you're going up against a Notre Dame team that has a ridiculous defense and probably the best secondary in the country, and they had a huge injury up front with Riley Mills being out anyway. But I don't know. It's like you don't want to base your perceptions of Gunnar Stockton all on one game, his first ever start against the best defense in the country, but you also don't want to just completely ignore it. You also just want to be like, it doesn't count because it was hard circumstances. It's like I don't know. I
The
think
second half versus Texas was a solid performance too.
Yeah,
Getting thrown into a game too.
He did some good things in that game, and yeah, I thought he gave them some real fire against Texas too, even though he threw a pretty bad pick at the end. But yeah, Gunnar Stockton is really a guy that like I just don't think I'm gonna have a firm opinion on until I see him start like 3 or 4 games, because it's weird. I mean, we just don't know about this guy. We really don't. We haven't seen him play that much. We know he's been in the system for what, 4 off seasons now. We know he knows the offense, but that's about all we know.
Yeah, and unfortunately for Gunnar, this is one of the more difficult first 3 or 4 games of a season for Georgia coming up this year, with Tennessee, the 3rd game, and then the bye week before Alabama. Excuse me. So I think we're going to know a lot about Gunnar after 4 games, but yeah, I'm just I think there's reason for concern. I think some Georgia fans see Gunnar on a list where he's 12th in the SEC, and they're like, oh, we're just getting disrespected over here.
Yeah,
but I don't know. I'm over here kind of equally like, hey, I don't know what to expect. So I think I will say this. I think kind of persona wise, off the field and tangible wise, he is the exact opposite of Carson Beck. It kind of seems like, and I think all Georgia fans see that and they're like, oh, that's great. We need the exact opposite.
Exactly.
But don't get it twisted. Carson Beck is the reason Georgia got to the SEC championship last year. Like, awful running game, awful receiving play. Gunnar Stockton or Carson Beck was the one constant on Georgia's team all year. Even the defense, like, this is the first year ever, I think. I tried to go back a while. I went back to the 90s. I was in an Instagram argument with somebody about Georgia's running game. I couldn't go back far enough to find a year where Georgia's opponents outrushed them for a season. And they didn't do it last year, but it was like 124 point something to 124 point something. Like, dang. We are not used to that as Georgia fans, where the opponent had as equally of good of a run game as Georgia's offense. And for Carson Beck to still have that team in the SEC championship, it's kind of unheard of. So I feel like Carson Beck, yeah, say what you want about him, I feel like he still doesn't get enough credit for how good he actually was. For one, he was great in 2023, but he was good enough to get Georgia all the way to the SEC championship last year, despite so many flaws on this team a year ago.
Yeah, I agree. I think you and I are both big Carson Beck defenders. I didn't like, it's easy to like, I was just kind of comparing him to Carson Beck just because that's like the easiest thing to do.
Yeah.
But yeah, for sure. Carson Beck, I think Carson Beck is a lot closer to the reason Georgia won the SEC last year, to the reason that Georgia, didn't win the national championship or something. Like, Carson Beck.
Yeah, I think so.
I think positive than negative last year, even with some of the rough stretches he had.
Yeah, and I think most people think, oh, Gunner's going to be better, but I don't think Gunner has to be better. I think if the receivers are as much better as I think they will be, I think the end result will be significantly better. But yeah, it's like, I don't know. Once you start defending someone, it's like I become a Carson Beck apologist or something. It was like LeBron. Like, I was never a big LeBron fan, but the haters turned me into like an I was an anti-LeBron hater essentially.
Because they come up with the most ridiculous arguments. It's like, you have to defend them.
Yeah, we hate on a guy because he's the second greatest player of all time. What are we doing